Ladies and gentlemen, you are very welcome to Dunleary and a picturesque Dunleary for one of the most special events on the drift calendar worldwide. It is, of course, Drift on the Docks 2. And we are excited because it is indeed the last event we'll be having here in Dunleary, and we're going to leave this place with some memories this weekend. I'm sure of that, Eddie. Of course, I'm joined in the tower by my co-host, Eddie Power. We're back going to talk you through everything. Eddie, an exciting weekend ahead.
Yeah, look, the second and final time that we're ever going to be here in the picturesque town of Dunleary, and what a backdrop we have here. The Irish Sea, the perfect setting for what is going to be another breathtaking event here at the Irish Drift Championship. If you remember back to this event last year, some really exciting battles. People were worried, Dave, that this track was going to be too small, that it wasn't going to be entertaining, but it proved to be a massive challenge for our drivers. We saw some carnage, guys going into the wall, we saw some upsets, and we saw some incredible battles throughout the weekend, and I'm looking forward to more of the same here in Dunleary this weekend. Yeah,
and of course, if you're a regular follower of the Irish Drift Championship, of course, Saturday is our pro-amateur day. So essentially, these are the guys coming up through the ranks in the system. Tomorrow we kick off with the pros, but today gives us a good example of the future of Irish drifting and essentially what we've got to expect in the next couple of years, because some brilliant drivers coming through the ranks.
And a lot of these drivers having come from the Irish Amateur Drift Championship earlier on in the year as well. So really getting to see a lot of very fresh talent in the sport, mixed with a lot of guys who have been, in the mid-pack for a number of years with a lot of experience. But these young guns, Dave, they're coming through. And you know what? They have no fear.
For sure. And also, you got to remember, a lot of these guys only starting their competitive career last December. So a lot of guys only starting to drift competitively last December. Now here they are in the docks in Dunleary with walls everywhere. It's going to be a big uphill challenge. Certainly a baptism of fire. Of course, in Mondello at round one, we had an amazing Pro-Am event. But again, just two walls, or just a lot of the track there not surrounded by walls. Here, every single clipping zone is on a wall. We've had some guys had some brushes with it this morning. We had even Shane Reedy and Tomas Falvey having a bit of a collision towards the end of practice, frantically trying to get those cars ready to get back out for action. But we're going to move it on to qualifying. And of course, qualifying, if you're new to drifting, we're going to explain everything today, keep you in the loop. How it works is we have got 50 drivers in Pro Amateur, but we get to the twin battles later on when we see two cars on track going head to head. Only 32 of those make it that far. So essentially what we're going to do is show you the track layout of what the judges are going to be expecting. Now, it's important to remember this is a judge sport, so each of our judges, which of course today will be Dan Moorhead, Kieran Hines and Kevin O'Connell, each of those will have a score out of 100 for each run. Now, each driver gets 2 non-consecutive runs, with their highest run counting as their overall score. So to find out what's going to score that perfect 100, we're going to hand you over to Mr. Business, Kevin O'Connell, who's going to talk us through the track.
Getting into the first corner. Initiation is open for this round. Weight transfer, clutch kick or handbrake initiation. But we will be definitely scoring higher for a weight transfer or a clutch kick entry in here just to maintain the speed into the first corner. We want them to slide the rear of the car through the first clipping point. Then we want them to maintain an outside line all the way from clipping point 1 to 2. And then maintaining that outside line all the way on to clipping point 3. As soon as the drivers get through clipping point 3, we want them to come away from the outside of the track slightly, in about 2/3 over towards the middle of the track. We want them to a nice smooth transition back then onto a nice wide outside line in front of the Link ECU grandstand onto clipping point 5. Maintaining an outside line, clipping all those clipping points around the outside of the second corner. Then a nice smooth transition back onto clipping point 7 here in front of us in the judging tower, and maintaining a nice outside line over the finish line.
So there you have it from Kevin O'Connell, and it's a pretty tricky track out there. It's not an easy one, but I'll tell you what, why don't we just show you guys what that perfect 100 run is going to look like, because what we do have is a virtual representation of the perfect lap of Dunleary. Near enough. It's not perfect replica, but it is a virtual version of it. You guys can check it out now and be able to see exactly what the judges are going to be looking for. So as you can see, Kevin was mentioning it's a initiation, can be weight transfer, clutch kick, and then it's right out to that wall in front of our first grandstand. I mean, it's pretty easy to see that the line here in the middle is key. You can't go right out to the edge of the course to get that perfect transition, but when you are on those outer arcs, you're trying to keep the rear of the bumper as close as possible to those outer barriers and the walls on this track. And then this is a really tricky section. You slow the car right down, which is a much sharper corner, and we've seen a lot of guys make mistakes there in the past here last year. So yeah, it's a very tricky one.
And again, a lot of guys struggling with that line in practice this morning. They're the only parts of the track, those two midsections, where the drivers have to deviate from the outer line and take a more mid line through the course.
Yeah, and I think that last corner where it tightens up caught a lot of people last year. A lot of battles won and lost there. So we're going to see a little bit more of that the same, I think, this year. Now, of course, we want to talk through the criteria in qualifying for those of you watching it for the first time or for those of you here in attendance. Here is exactly what's about to go down. Each driver will complete two non-consecutive scored runs. The highest score after both runs will count as a driver's final score. Each run is scored out of a maximum of 100 by our 3 judges. The average score from all 3 judges will count as a driver's run score. Drivers will be deducted points for momentary loss of drift, understeer, incorrect line, dropping 1 to 3 wheels over the designated circuit, or in this case, crashing into the walls, or send significant contact with those outer walls. Drivers will be rewarded for extreme entry, increased speed, fluidity, snappy transitions, correct judging line, precision, proximity to the outer clipping zones, and generally just being quite awesome on the track. Drivers will score a 0 for complete loss of drift, spinning out, dropping 4 wheels, extreme understeer, as in not, understeering for a large section of the track, and driving a section of the course. That's how it works. We're ready to go to the start line. Our first driver will be heading there now, and of course a nervous moment for that driver. Obviously he's the first man to hit the course. There's been practice all morning, but this is when it really counts.
Yeah, and obviously a nervous wait as well while we're going through all our briefing material at the start. It's a nervous wait for these guys on the line. The temperatures inside these cars, Dave, really, really high. A lot of guys just struggling with the heat, and to be just sitting there waiting for your first run, it could be very nerve-wracking. But Darren Burke steps up to the line. He's travelled all the way from Galway, a greyhound trainer. Great variety of different career paths that we have on the grid here in IDC.
Let's see if he dogs the car around here, Eddie.
Oh, the puns have started already. 320 brake horsepower, SR20. Should be plenty for this track as Darren Burke throws it in. Oh, big contact with the wall from Darren Burke straight off the bat. Loses that rear bumper and has to recorrect his line. Judges will certainly be looking to dock him big time for that. And look, Dave,
yeah, I think he's
backside of it,
yeah,
possibly an issue with the car.
It looks like that rear left wheel bent on the back of the car.
Yeah,
big contact with the second clipping zone. Of course, that's the fastest section of the course. Darren running a little bit too wide there, and not only just taking the bumper off, but doing some damage also.
So you can just...
Yeah, just a graphic came up from the last round, so that might be the final tomorrow. You never know. so they have a Darren Burke 0 on his first run. Obvious for everybody, both a novice or experienced armchair judge. We he didn't finish the course. Next up is a man who didn't actually even make it to the start line at round 1. Ryan Morton, ex-IADC champion. Brand new build for him. And
yeah, this car, Dave, on its 3rd engine. The trouble Ryan Morton has had just to get to the grid here, but he is back for round 2. And a little bit off some of the clips here, but Ryan hasn't had much seat time, and we have seen in the past just what this young man is capable of doing, putting in a safe run here, but very grippy track out there, just struggling to get out to the wider lines, but doing a good job of just getting around the circuit. And it'll be very important for Ryan here, Dave, just to put a score on the board. And there you go, starting to really get to grips with it as the run goes on, and finishing nicely is Ryan Morton. A very strong second half to that run from Ryan Morton. This RB25 500 brake horsepower. He's an ex-motocross champion, a lot of experience, and a 52 for Ryan Morton as the judges' scores drop in for him. He'll be happy with that. As I said, Dave, a little bit of a rusty start. Struggled through the first half, but got it together.
And a brand new car too.
And a brand new car, yeah.
Not the easiest place to test it.
This is essentially his shakedown of this car. So Ryan Morton puts a score on the board. We move it on to our next driver, which will be Tommy O'Neill.
Yeah, we used to call him Tommy Tires in IADC, as he's generally in the background changing tires for a lot of the guys on the grid, but now he's on the grid, burning his own tires. Tommy, a fabricating welder from Laois. Very exciting guy to watch. Look at that run to the wall from Tommy O'Neill.
Yeah, Tommy really getting it dialed in straight away here. Can he keep this going? As you see, it makes the transition back through that midsection and right out to the outer line then again. A little bit of a waver though. And again, getting out to that wall and just touching it ever so slightly. And this is where it really slows down. Quite a tricky area, especially for a lead car to try and, or for a chase car to try and follow, as we'll see later on. But
yeah, guys struggling a little bit.
Tommy O'Neill.
Grip is interesting here because, of course, this isn't tarmac or concrete; it's cobble-lock. So it's something that guys are trying to, adapt to constantly. Here, it's something different. You probably wouldn't have drifted a whole lot on this type of surface before, and as the grip goes down with so many runs, it gets a lot more grippy. So there you go, first run out of the bag for Tommy O'Neill. 64 is the score for him.
Yeah, judges liking that one, and not a bad first run from Tommy O'Neill.
Tomas Fowley having an impact in his last run of practice.
Yeah, literally the last run of practice, but they've managed to get this car back together. Some damage to the rear end. There was a buckled wheel after he made contact.
Yeah, Tomas
with
Falvey.
the wall, but Falvey and the team have got it back together in the Drift Games S15. as he launched it through the first corner, and Falvey right out to that outer line once again, and doing just what the judges wanted him to do, coming off that third clipping zone nice and early to take a midline through the transition. And Falvey looking as though this incident that he had early on not caused him any problems, but starting to miss a couple of clips now, Dave.
Yeah, it looks like maybe the confidence. Well,
and backside were just over the line though.
Yeah, no, the line is actually just before that last zone. So a lot of people think they're backing out. It's actually the course finishes right in front of the grandstand here.
Which is a lot earlier than where it finished last season if you were here or watching it at home.
So a little bit shorter of a course here. So they're not just backing out. They're backing out obviously to if they finish the run. So Falvey puts in a score. A 57 puts him in the second position at the moment. Another sort of mid-pack score. A little bit of confidence shaken maybe from that impact in practice, but we'll surely see him stronger for the second one. Now here's an interesting one, Eddie. It is the front of a GT86 and the rear of an S14. Well, it is an actual S14. Tom Murphy unveiling this, I'm not even sure what you would call it, a sort of Frankenstein of an S14, but it looks amazing.
Yeah, it looks unbelievable. Tom had a lot of problems this morning, gearbox issues, clutch issues as well, and just managing to keep this car going here as he fires it around the circuit. We call him the entertainer.
Now again, another untested car. These are his first competitive runs of the entire season so far. So missing round one with some issues getting parts for this car, but does run the wall across the finish line. A hand out the window as always from Tom Murphy. And it's exciting, but again, a couple of bits to clean up on. But that thing just, it's sort of, you take a second glance, don't you? This doesn't quite make sense when you're looking at that car. Very interesting.
Oh, and you can just see a little bit of a stall there from, I wonder, hopefully not more.
He was having issues. Yeah, he was having issues in practice this morning, and Tom, at the moment, putting a 55 on the board, not so bad. I mean, if he is suffering from some mechanical issues, that's a pretty solid score for the first run. But as the scores start to creep up as we get through the championship order, Eddie, it's going to be in the mid-70s where that cutoff is. So a lot of these guys will know it. Now, next up on the line, Jack Shield. This is a man who did the entire IADC, the Irish Amateur Drift Championship, the whole season on one set of tires and a tank and a half of fuel. So when you talk about drifting being an expensive sport, this man goes against that belief. Let's see what he can do here.
And worth noting, managing to qualify into the Pro-Am Championship as well. So it wasn't the case that he was just doing one or two runs, Dave. Very impressive. But Jack Shield doing a nice job now, getting on that wide line. You can just hear him keeping that throttle pinned. A real acceleration course. Very few slowing zones on this track. And Jack doing a nice job getting that compact E36 BMW out to the wall, and he crosses the line on his first run.
Yeah, and Jack, just back from 2 weeks in Japan, where he has been driving in Ibisu in his JZX he bought over there. And I mean, all that seat time is going to count for something, and it does put a solid score on the board here in the first half of qualifying. A very fun guy to be around in the pits, always having a great time and enjoys his drifting. And there you go, 63.3, second position so far for Jack Shield. Next on the line, another interesting car, Nick Queally in this, well, it's a 1UZ V8. I'm not even sure if it's a KE. I think it's a KE Toyota Corolla. It's an old sort of bread van shape. Very interesting car. Nick coming back after he was in a Skyline years ago. Now it's something completely different.
Yeah, weighs just 940 kg. This car built by Dennis Healy for a bit of fun, but it's changed hands a few times. And he is bringing it here to Dunleary to see if he can work his magic in it. And Nick Queally not doing too bad a job here, Dave, as he hugs that outer line all the way around the teardrop and out to the wall again. Now here's where it gets tricky, snappy transition, but inch perfect out into that penultimate clipping zone and across the line. Nick Queally back with a bang.
Yeah, and not a bang into the wall, which is a good thing. And the other thing to remember here is that those clipping zones on the ground, as they wear away with the tire wear throughout qualifying, it's those white boxes on the wall you're aiming for. If you're using as a visual reference, the drivers are using those to know those are the points they need to be closest to the wall. And there you have 68.3 for Nick Queally on his first run.
To set first position for the moment, Dave.
Yeah, not a bad run at all. Next on the line, another guy jumping up this year from the Irish Amateur Drift Championship, Dara Spencer, apprentice mechanic, in a 323 BMW, 180 horsepower. Now, this is going to be a tricky task for him to get around this circuit, but these guys from the IADC, they're not putting horsepower in, they're just putting seat time in, and it seems to be paying off. Look at this weight transfer actually on the wall.
Yeah, straight out to the wall, and look at this line. Big angle here from Dara Spencer. And as you say, Dave, no big horsepower here, just full-on driver ability as he negotiates this Dunleary circuit absolutely beautifully so far. Look at this line. Brings it right out there, rubs the wall. And Dara Spencer is on a big one here. Can he keep this going through the final sections? Applause from the judges.
That's a big run right there.
Dunleary makes some noise for Dara Spencer.
There you go. You turn up with a 323 BMW, and I would be pretty sure he's going to top qualifying so far. What does Dara Spencer score?
The facts about this car, Dave, it's basic, it's fun, and it works. And Dara Spencer certainly made it work there.
He did. Look at this, an 86.3 for Dara Spencer.
Wow. What about that?
323 BMW, 86.3. Have a little think about your build. That's all I'm saying. And we got to move on to another BMW. It is going to be the white BMW of Ben Galbraith. Ben, a welder and fabricator from County Tyrone, another guy in a 328, so he's got way more horsepower than Dara Spencer.
A whole 20 extra horsepower here, 200 brake horsepower.
Oh, and absolutely caves in the back of the car on the second clipping zone. Stays good, stays in it though.
Yeah, just watch the smoke line here because you can see he's just not lifting whatsoever. Full throttle, pinned all the way around, tags the wall again, bringing that bumper for a ride as it trails behind them the whole way around the circuit. Can it hold on? Can Ben hold on? He certainly can, right out to the wall and across the line. Dave, things are heating up and we are only 10 runs in.
That's incredible. I was just thinking, he hit the wall so hard and he just did not lift for a second. He just drove through the wall, said, nah, I'm staying in this, and incredible run. 81.7 for Ben Galbraith, puts him into second position. And this may be the day of the BMW because they are singing out there at the moment. And the next one on the line, well, it's a little different because we had a 323 and a 328. Now we've got a diesel 330T. So the entire BMW range on display here, and this is a very, very strange car. Kevin Kilgariff, sort of a home-built, crazy sort of, building it on his experience in engineering, not really on drifting, and it works, man. It's a really good car.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin Kilgariff spends most of his time working on the future of cars, self-driving systems, and global headquarters for vision systems and designing and supplies to Mercedes, BMW, Volvo, and so on. But he is out here for a bit of fun here in Dún Laoghaire this weekend and bringing that smoky beam. We've got tire smoke, we've got diesel smoke pluming out the exhaust. Look at this as he puts the foot to the floor and he crosses the line. I'm not sure if that one's going to compete for top spot, Dave, but certainly an impressive run from Kevin Kilgariff.
You know, this car, right, has 300 horsepower, but it has something like 900 newton meters of torque or something ridiculous. This is what he says. I mean, I don't know. I've known nothing about diesel BMWs except for some people I know have them to go to work. But this thing is a ripper. And to be fair to Kevin, putting a 65.7 in there to fourth position at the moment, he looks strong. When he's on it, he's on it. And I'd say watch out for him later on in qualifying. Another BMW coming up next. This is incredible. This is even another 323 BMW, 170 horsepower. He said that the heaviest foot in the land is what he needs to drive this car around here. Well, let's see what he's got. It is, of course, Barry Rogers, the panel beater from Ardee in County Louth. Clutch kick entry, notably, Eddie.
Yeah, nice clutch kick entry from Barry Rogers. And again, the BMW chassis seems to be perfect for this tight technical course in Dún Laoghaire. What can Barry Rogers do? Can he threaten for that top spot? Just maybe not getting wide enough out to the walls, but certainly doing a really good job here as he flicks it back towards the end of his run, just tags the wall at the end. And another driver putting in a safe run. This is a basic spec, and as you say, Dave, a very heavy right foot. That throttle just pinned the whole way around the circuit. These guys just not lifting at all.
And you know what?
They can't afford to lift.
No, and it takes the option of lifting out. I mean, the pros will not be able to keep that much throttle around the track, so with the higher horsepower. So again, it leaves them with one thought in mind: keep it pinned. 50 on the board for Barry Rogers, puts him in the 10th position right now. And, we're seeing these guys come out now with sort of, we call it budget spec, but simple, basic cars. And it shows that if you've got the driver ability, you can get the job done. Next up, we have Damien Short, the aircraft engineer.
Yeah, and a new build for 2018. He took a break in 2017 to build this new car, formerly an SR20 twin cam, now driving this SR20 powered S14.
Let's see how he gets on. New build. Let's see if it does the job. Late initiation from David Short. Gets it out there, though.
He certainly does. You can hear him just banging that throttle, a little bit more wavering and throttle control needed for the turbo-powered S14.
Nice line here through the second section.
Really nice, yeah. You can just see switches it back nicely. This is where it tightens up. And Damien Short doing a good job. Obviously, Dave, as we mentioned, taking a break from the sport, so coming back for the 2018 season.
It's a really nice looking car too.
It is, yeah.
It's simple, clean, and it works. And he puts a score on the board on the first half of qualifying. Damien, who's been in the game quite some time now, a lot of experience on his shoulders, knows the game at 65.7, enough for 4th position at the moment for Damien Short. So nice start to qualifying for him. Hadn't as much fortune at round 1 in Mondello. Next up is Paul Kennedy, a man who loves running walls and often finds himself in them. He's a project manager from Longford representing Z-Tech Tires, but one of the most exciting guys on the grid to watch. M3 engined, E36.
Made a name for himself in his 328 powered BMW back at Global Warfare 1. He's now switched and upped the power to an E46 M3 engine, 320 brake horsepower. This car has more hits than the Beatles and it weighs a mere 1,200 kilograms. And that's including the driver and a full tank of petrol. What has Paul Kennedy got here in Dún Laoghaire? Big flick entry as he enters the course. Can he get it out to the walls? Just shy, but getting the rear wheel into that outer zone.
Yeah, little bit of a poor line through the centre section there, Eddie, as he actually cut the course quite a bit back onto the clipping zones, but judges will be watching for that.
Yeah, judges saying they want the drivers to come off that 3rd and 7th clipping zone nice and early, but look at the speed that Paul Kennedy carries. Just had to scrub it off too much. Dials on a lot of angle there, Dave, and a little bit of an error creeps in there, just carrying too much speed.
You know what, he had a very brave entry, but it wasn't accurate, and I think that, you know, he gets that reward for how brave he's come in, but you got to get to those 2 clipping zones.
Those Z-Tech tires giving him a lot of grip as he comes through the course. And what will the score be for Paul Kennedy?
Yeah, Paul Kennedy awaits his score from the judges. It is a 64.3, 6th position so far for Paul Kennedy. A little bit to tidy up there, but not so bad. Next to the line we go with our current IADC champion, if I'm not mistaken, Dylan Garvey, who is only 16 years of age, as far as I'm aware. This is a 450 horsepower SR20. One of those guys that, you know, people are watching. How far will he go? Young kids come into sport like him, wins a championship in his, his first go. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, lost out to his older brother at round 1, but he'll be looking to rectify his woes from round 1 here at Dún Laoghaire. What can he do? This is looking like a nice line from Dylan Garvey, just showing why he's the IADC champion. Such a talent behind the wheel, and flies through that midsection, just missing that penultimate clipping zone, Dave. Judges will penalise him, but getting it back out to the wall in the final sections of the course.
First driver I've actually seen, Eddie, that's actually using the left foot braking technique to get around the course. You can see those back lights flashing as he tries to keep the throttle on and brake at the same time to just keep that wheel speed up. But a couple of errors there from Dylan. I think it's a good score, probably not an amazing score. Yeah, 72.7, a good solid score for his first run into 3rd position so far. But I can expect even bigger things from him as he settles in here through qualifying. Robin Neeson is our next driver, refrigeration engineer from Ballymena. This car only runs 850 horsepower.
Yeah, so pretty much underpowered here. Yeah. I imagine he's going to struggle.
3.4 stroked Brian Crower 2JZ. This thing is a beast.
It's worth noting that his wife is in attendance here. She's due to have a baby in the next 4 days. So we're trying to keep the rumbles and the shakes to a minimum so that that baby doesn't decide to arrive today.
Nobody jump out at her at any point. But Robin doing a nice job so far of keeping that thing going. It's a big car to get around here.
It really is, but doing a really good job. Just struggles there, maybe catches a little bit of grip that pulls him into the midsection of the track and not able to keep it out on that wide line. But not a bad first run from Robin Neeson as he gets across the line.
Not at all. And you know what? It's a beautiful car.
Really beautiful. I mean, this thing belongs on the road. It doesn't really look like a drift car.
No, I mean, if you're a fan of JZXs, that thing is just, a 3.4 stroke JZX. Solid color, wide fenders, dished wheels. That's everything you want it to be. And I wonder, will the score be everything Robin Neeson needs it to be? It's a 59. It's a 10th position he goes. And as you can see, you can actually see the individual scores from our judges there, which is interesting too. Now, next on the line, we have got Trevor McInerney, the mechanic from Clare, in his 2JZ 600 horsepower PS13.
Yeah, representing DT Auto's McElliott's Castletown Motors.
Had a little brush with the wall in practice, but still car looks in one piece. Let's see how he goes.
Nice line from Trevor McInerney through the first section. As you can see, just staying out on that wide line, not getting in tight enough. And it's affecting his line for the second half of this course. Can he get back on to the wide line? just not doing enough, Dave. Doing a good job here, but not doing enough to really challenge for a top spot.
Well, you got to remember, Eddie, it's about putting a score on the board too, because these guys are going to go out and say, if I put a 0 in or I have a really bad first sketchy run, puts all the pressure on the second. Putting a solid run in like Trevor did there, it means you've got a bit of breathing space. You've put a decent score on the board. You know you can do the circuit, and you get that opportunity to push a little harder on the second. That's what we're going to see as time moves on here, and we see it every round. Guys hold a little bit in reserve just for that last run to know where is the cutoff. What have I actually got to do? So let's see what score he drops in. 66 puts him in 5th position right now, Eddie, so not a bad score at all.
No, certainly not. But as I mentioned, getting those clipping zones, but just not getting wide enough to contend for that top spot. Be interesting to see how Trevor does on the second half of qualifying when he comes back out, knowing that he has that good score on the board. We got to move it on. Ross Kenny, the next driver on the line. He's a garage manager from County Clare, representing MDT, Zestino Tyres, Turbos Direct, Carrick Tools, Banner Quick Fit. Is an SR20, 450 brake horsepower, Link engine management system. It's fully forged, 350Z box, wide fab, you name it, it's got it.
Nice to the wall from Ross Kenny, but he gets very offline after that, dropping 2 wheels over the centre of the circuit.
Yeah, fair to say the judges are going to really penalise him heavily. Big error there, and at least a couple of wheels offline, Dave.
Yeah. You know what? Oh, and just about gets away with not hitting the wall there. Ross shutting it off just before the finish. That will have resulted. It is 0. Ross had a bad start today, of course. His van and trailer both being clamped in the hotel car park this morning. So they didn't just clamp the van, they decided to clamp the trailer as well. So, you know, he woke up to that this morning. So I'm sure he's trying to shake off those blues. But a 0 on his first run, and we've seen Ross come from this position before and put in a solid second. So a lot of experience there. Not over until it's over for him. Speaking of experience, another man in the sport quite some time is Keith Bard-O'Shea from County Laois, representing ABC Clutch, Cooler Works, Just Jap, and Westside Tires, 2.5 JZ, 500 horsepower, Link ECU 6 boost manifold with the BMW conversion gearbox. Nice car. He used to compete in the BDC, now switching it back to the IDC and trying to put in a run. It's his first ever attempt at a competitive run in Dún Laoghaire. A lot of pressure on.
Yeah, a lot of pressure, and a last-minute finish to this car as well. Niall Whelan working very hard all week to try and get this car ready for Bard. He wanted to come here. He knew we'd never be here again. He missed it last year, and he wanted to come out and just put on a show for the fans and have a little bit of fun and see how he can get on. Not doing too bad a job here, but just missing some of those outer zones. Getting the car nicely around the circuit though, and again, as you say, Dave, these drivers looking to put in a score here on their first run, and then they'll up it a little bit for the second half of qualifying.
Exactly, and it's a solid run on the board there from Keith Bard-O'Shea. Missing a couple of clipping zones around the way, but at the same time, you know, getting around the course, and that's the most important thing in the first half of qualifying, putting a score on the board. You just don't know where that cutoff will be. Anything can happen. We've seen very low cutoffs, sometimes we've seen very high cutoffs in terms of scoring for that top 32 battles that are later today. But let's see where he drops in. 57, 12th position so far for Keith Bard-O'Shea, right in the mid-pack, not so bad. Moving along to our next driver, which will be Shane Mackin. And Shane, on these tighter circuits, has seen the podium before.
You just never know with Shane Mackin, and on a tight circuit like this, it can really come together for him if he's in the game. He has the ability to put in some monstrous runs. He has a little bit of the ability to be inconsistent. What Shane Mackin are we going to see today? He's representing Tyre Hanger, TH Components, and Chaos 13. And look at, oh, big contact with the wall from Shane Mackin as he goes nose first into the tyres. You could just see the commitment Shane Mackin had, and it's a game of inches, Dave.
Yeah, and you know what? He just came in very deep trying to get to that second clipping zone. We haven't actually seen someone hit that wall hard enough to put them into those tyres, but that's why those tyres are there ready to stop that dead stop. And I think watching the back end took most of the impact, and the front end, for me, probably got away with it with the tyres. It'll be a little bit of a bounce. We see it here in the replay. You guys here in attendance will be able to see that big screen tomorrow, but it just goes too deep on the line, hits the back end, and it just starts sucking the front end. Front hits the barrier, and it sort of pushes him along. But this is the bit, as you can see, that saves him. Into the tyres, car bounces, those front bumper bars doing their job. And from that perspective, I think that car is okay.
And of course, the speed's here relatively low as well, Dave. So yeah, we would hope that while it looks like there could be a lot of damage here, I imagine a lot of it would be just cosmetic.
Yeah, and of course, that front wheel taking an impact. Guys, round of applause for Shane Mackin. Unfortunately, ends his first run. You can see all smiles in the car. And I think those smiles are from the fact that he knows probably not massive amounts of damage done there. And I mean, if I'm judging this, he's had a head impact there, and it does look like his pop-up headlights are still intact. So it goes to show that bumper bar on the front doing its job. Front wheel took a hit on the barrier, so that may be the issue. Maybe a snapped arm there or something like that. But of course, these guys, a lot of spares in the paddock. These cars designed to take hits like that. You know,
but you know what, Dave?
Not cause major issues.
I'm liking the commitment that he had into that first section of the track. And if he can get this car back up and running, it's that type of driving from Shane Mackin that if that had gone right, he could have been looking at a big score there.
For sure. And you know, look, at the same time, you're going to have mistakes made on tracks like this. It's a very interesting surface. It's bumpy. It's cobble lock. There's intermittent amounts of grip. The temperature is super high in practice, now dropping down again. So the temperature on the circuit even changing. This can affect a lot of these guys' runs, and it can also be a case of saying, you know, you want to go in there and wow the crowd and do a crazy run, and sometimes, that, as you said, those inches, another 4 or 5 inches, and that car would have just sailed by that wall with the perfect wall run.
Yeah, and messages coming in from our marshals that it is, in fact, a broken arm on the front end of that car. So
that's not too bad.
It shouldn't be too bad. Hopefully, there'll be some spares lying around the pits, and Shane will be able to get that sorted and get back out for the second half.
I'm just amazed by the strength of these two front lights, that they just hit into the tires and they're absolutely fine. So it goes to show a lot of the guys running these bumper bars, as we call them, on the front of the car, these tubing, that essentially is like a crash bar. So as you can see, that took most of the impact all around and protected most of the front end, where all the valuable pieces are, essentially. So Shane, you know, he'll put that back on the truck and get into the pits. A couple of guys to get around that car. I'm sure we'll get that car back out for the second half of qualifying.
And of course, we use very soft racing tires for all our tire bales, so just to try and minimize the amount of impact that these drivers experience as well. So you can see Shane Mackin just getting recovered, as we have a slight break in the action here. You can see all of our marshals working tirelessly all weekend here and all week, Dave, setting up this phenomenal man-made circuit that we have here in Dún Laoghaire. Hours and hours of long days, late nights to put this all together. It's a man-made circuit. It's not like just rocking down to Mondello where you have the circuit already there and you just got to put up some.
It certainly
some
is not, Eddie. I'll tell you that from 5 days of building here from the guys. It certainly is not like going to Mondello and painting some clipping zones. And even if you look at Formula Drift, essentially the track is sort of there already. Here, everything is built from scratch. This is just one car park. And to build all the amazing team we've had here on the grandstands, on the walls, and everything throughout the week, just to get this ready for this weekend, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of dedication, it's a lot of time. And it's just to put on a special show, put on something that the guys have a challenge with on the track. It's something different. I think with a lot of the circuits, considering Ireland only has one circuit, you get quite used to that. You get quite used to the surface, you get quite used to the layouts. Coming here, and of course, we'll be going to the Irish Motor Festival in August in Punchestown. They're custom circuits. They bring a whole wealth of new experience for the drivers, and also they give them a new challenge. It mixes up the grid. Some guys, are perfect in Mondello. They can do practice days. They can get very, very dialed in. You haven't got the chance here. You got about 8 to 10 practice runs, and then you're into competition, and you haven't got it right by then. You're kind of winging a prayer.
Yeah, and looking ahead to the event in Punchestown, maybe a lot of our fans, our recent fans that are new to the sport, might not be familiar with the circuit there. Irish drifting really put itself on the map in Punchestown. Some of the most exciting events that we've ever had have been on that venue, and I, for one, am really looking forward to going back there. There will be a slight change to the track setup and everything like that, which will obviously level out the playing field for any of the drivers that didn't compete there in the past.
Brand new track there, and of course round 3 tickets on sale on Monday morning. €20,000 winner takes all. Highest prize in the history of Irish motorsport. One event, one winner. You lose the last battle, you lose 19 grand. That's a fact. So that is coming up. Tickets for that on sale Monday morning 9 a.m. We move it on with qualifying here though at Drift to the Docks to Kenny Mulligan, which I always say one of my favourite cars on the grid. Just love the way this thing looks. And Kenny getting more and more experience behind the wheel, looking stronger and stronger as things go. And yeah, as I said, as we cleaned up Shane Mackin's small spill with the wall, we move it along to Kenny. See what he's got. 400 horsepower, RB25, throwing it in.
Yeah, Kenny Mulligan throws it in on that nice wide line, but starts to just come away from the wall a little bit early, Dave. And again, judges will be looking at that closely and starting to deduct some points. Can he fit? Oh yeah, just not the line that the judges are looking for. He is getting it around the circuit though. He will be putting a score on the board, but just maybe not the most competitive run that we're going to see from Kenny Mulligan today.
Again, I think a lot of guys going for that safe approach, saying, you know, I want to put a run in. I don't want to get a 0 on the first. Don't want to, you know, default and have to do it all on the second and not know whether you should push or not push. So at least these guys put a safe run in. They go, right, I can improve on that. I know I can go a little harder in the second half. 64 for Kenny Mulligan puts him into 9th position. I mean, at that stage, you know, that could be enough to get him into top 32 here today, Eddie, with the way things are going. So definitely the right option, taking that sort of conservative first run.
Yeah, but a man that certainly won't be conservative is Sean Watt.
There's no such thing as conservative when it comes to Sean Watt. The man from Antrim Fabricator, representing Watfab, Devlin Trailers, MD1K Body Kits, DM Alignments, and good friends with Dean Martin in the Pro Class. Wants to get through the Pro-Am this year to go up and rub doors again with Dean Martin, who's just been newly promoted to the Pro Class. He is now on the line. This thing, like, it's full throttle the whole way with Sean Watt.
Yeah, there's a full fiberglass front and rear end on this car as well, which is very impressive. You can just see momentarily, momentarily drops off throttle and then absolutely pins it. And Sean Watt is on a belter of a line here. Can he keep this going nice and wide? You can just see no break in that smoke cloud, Dave. Full throttle the whole way around as he transitions back nice and quick. Quick dab of the handbrake and then back on power. Big impact with the wall, but keeps it.
The car just folded into the wall.
Stays in it, and yeah, that's that fiberglass rear end getting a little bit of a bang.
You know, it just looked like the back of the car just folded around the wall. And I'm not sure, it actually popped back out again after he hit it.
It actually looks like he's made no contact with the wall whatsoever.
Yeah, but it was a pretty heavy contact. I'd say his back wheel was pretty close to that outer barrier there. But an 80 on the board for Sean Watt, 3rd position so far. A great run from Sean Watt, and of course the judges rewarding that bravery and his proximity to those outer walls. We move on to our next driver. It is Paulius Judicious. And it is a R33 Skyline, but it also runs 680 horsepower, 2.5. So this was a car originally run by Simon Perry in the British Drift Championship. So our marshals just...
yeah, just clearing up a little bit of glass from Sean Watt. He was doing a little bit of weight reduction on the track. That's why he hit the wall so hard. Smashed his rear window, so the driver, or the marshals rather, just need to clear that little bit of glass off the track.
Of course, safety, our #1 priority here. Of course, we've joined into an incredible new partnership with Simpson Race Products, who are briefing our drivers this evening on a new wave of safety measures being brought into Irish Drift Championship, to British Drift Championship, and to the Drift Masters Series. Of course, with the sport being self-regulated, the car is getting more and more extreme every year. Nice to have some very experienced partners on board to guide us into the future and make sure these guys stay safe on track. And of course, as you can see from our marshals on the circuit, all very well prepared. All went through full fire training yesterday. You know, at an event such as this, there's a lot of work that needs to be done to make sure everybody's on point. So prepared for everything. And of course, one of our marshals spotting some small debris on the track, making sure that's cleared off for the next run. Of course, we don't want anybody to have a disadvantage, and try and make the course as predictable as possible for every single run throughout the weekend. So it takes a little bit of time to clean up sometimes, but it's you know, these guys work so tirelessly to make these cars run, and when, you know, they're out there putting one run and to try and get into the show, we got to make sure everything's 100%.
Yeah, and a lot of guys sacrificing every last penny that they have just to get here, just to put on a show for the fans. They give everything they have. They work tirelessly. You know, it's full commitment just to get to the grid.
It is, and I think a lot of people forget that what goes on behind the scenes. I mean, if you're watching on a live stream, you turn it on, you flick it on your phone, it's throwaway, you know. But these guys put so much time and effort in to get here, to put on that show, to be the best, to try and get up against the best guys in the pro class, get those licenses to move on in your career, get those licenses to move on to Europe. That's what it's all about now. And you know what? It's a testament to those guys, those 70 guys or 80 guys on the grid, that they can get here even in the first place, with cars set up, passing scrutiny, making sure they're running, then to take them out onto a track where you've got, what, 9 outer wall runs. So, as I said, while we clean up the track, there's glass scattered across. Our marshals making sure. I just want to remind you guys also of the prize fight, which is coming up in Mondello Park. This is the one we're very excited about. It's coming up on... it's coming up in the very first 30th of June and the 31st, or the 1st of July, my mistake, 1st of July. It is in Mondello Park. It is the prize fight, the largest cash prize in a one-day event in the history of drifting. €20,000 cash goes to the winner on that day. What an incredible, incredible amount of tension we're going to feel that evening. Can't be missed.
Yeah, I mean, that's really going to bring a new element completely, because it is life-changing money for some of these guys. It is... to come away with a round win. Can you imagine if that was the first time you'd ever won an IDC event? But going into the final, as you mentioned, Dave, one of those drivers will essentially lose €19,000.
That's some tension right there on track. And that's what it's all about. It's about going there and seeing, does it change things? Does it make them more exciting? It'll certainly be more tense, that's for sure.
And it's a testament to the incredible sponsors that we have on board here this season, that we've been able to put up such a, you know,
absolutely
monumental amount of money.
And the belief that those companies have in our sport, and to the guys on the grid to reward them for that. Also to Mondello Park, who are recognizing that drifting is such a huge part of their day-to-day there now, and we're all going in on this one. We're putting all the marbles in and saying, hey, 20 G's, come and get it. Can you imagine? And 80 guys going for 20 grand. The only difference is we're here in Mondello, we only have 1,000 seats in the grandstand. So they go on sale at 9 a.m. this Monday. There's only 1,000 seats. There's 2,500 here this weekend. So yes, we can have up to 10,000 people in Mondello, but only 1,000 will get those perfect grandstand seats. So have further warning to everybody who's watching in or here in attendance that 9 a.m. they go on sale. Once they're gone, they are gone. So it looks like we're ready to get back to action here, qualifying a drift on the docks 2. And it will be Paulius Judicious from Slane in County Meath, representing TH Components, Rapid Design, Tire Hanger, Autofab. 680 horsepower, so it's plenty of horsepower. This thing makes a ton of smoke, and he's a very exciting driver to watch. An up-and-comer in the championship. Let's see how he gets on here.
Yeah, fires it off the line, and a big flick entry, throws it onto the wall. And Paulius, nice transition through the midsection. And you can just see on-off throttle as he tries to balance the car around the circuit. A big chassis to try and negotiate around it. Look at the speed, Dave, as he fires it through the midsection here. Just coming offline ever so slightly, but brings it back out to the wall and takes it over the line to complete his first qualifying run. And a little bit of banging of that throttle and that limiter after the line, Dave.
Yep,
and
they were advised not to do that earlier in briefing, but he obviously did not listen to me at all. Putting on a show for the fans, Paulius awaits his score from the judges to see exactly how he scored. I'm imagining a couple of clipping zones missed, going to drop down, but plenty of speed and plenty of aggression, so it might balance itself off. There you go, 67.7, sixth position so far for Paulius Judicious. Next up, another youngster coming into the game, Jordan Boyce, just 15 years of age, driving a 2.2 16-valve Scorpio-engined Ford Sierra, which is, you know, common.
Yeah.
A lot of people running them.
You know, you see uncommon cars like, you know, the BMW E36 and things like that, M3 engines, but, you know, this is pretty common.
Run of the mill.
Yeah.
Jordan coming in very hot here, going right to the wall, just scrubbing the rear taillight on that outer barrier. Looking very aggressive in practice, had some hits with the wall though, trying to balance that aggression, make sure it works, and again, that perfect outer line, look at that, painting it just 1 or 2 feet off that white line, which is what the judges want to see.
And this is why we talk about Jordan Boyce being one of the hottest rising stars in Irish drifting, absolutely nailing the circuit. Could this go top? I'm not sure if it was as good as Spencer's run from earlier on, but it'll certainly be in contention, Dave.
Yeah, that's going to be right up there, Eddie. I mean, look, it's a simple game here in Dún Laoghaire. I mean, you throw it in, you get close to the walls, and you stay on throttle and keep it fluid, you're going to score high. That's as simple as it is. I mean,
I feel like I could do it myself.
I wouldn't bet. I would bet against it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We would both be in the wall here if we were.
Ooh, not far off.
Wow.
An 82 for Jordan Boyce. You know what? These young guys would make you sick, wouldn't they?
They would.
Yeah.
I'm feeling a little bit old now. He's less than half my age and is twice the driver. Do the math.
Probably more than twice the driver.
Hey.
So moving it on, we got Francis O'Shea on the line. Francis from County Clare in this 2JZ 600 brake horsepower monster.
Beautiful car. Beautiful car. You know, wise. Sorry, it's got a full G-Force dog box, Winters quick change, wise fab, you name it, this thing has a beautiful machine, and Francis is doing a nice job so far, taking it wide to that outer line, and another experienced driver in the Pro-Am grid, always puts on a show.
Yeah, a lot of seasons under his belt, and testing recently at Auto Heroes down in Mondello Park. Not the perfect run he would have been looking for.
No, and you know what? Again, a cautious run by any means, and it looks like, you know, from the lack of body panels on the back of the car, I wonder did he have a couple of hits with the wall in practice. Didn't see it myself, but I would imagine that's why there's no rear taillights on the car. So as you can see, the score drops in 60.7, 15th position so far for Francis O'Shea. So we wait for the next driver to hit the line. This is a guy I picked out in the Irish Championship as a very big contender this year. Andy Keys, He has, 340 horsepower, not a big horsepower car, but a super consistent driver, and it looks like he has the experience well beyond his years.
Yeah, it certainly does. Really wowed at round 1. 340 brake horsepower, SR20. He's representing Enniskillen and Tyre Centre, Key Quads, MDT Tuning, IM Tints, Driftshed NI, Chris Usable Photography, MD1K, MTech Graphics, and Drift Kits. And it looks as though Andy Keys is unlocking this tight and technical Dún Laoghaire circuit.
Took the rear bumper on the barrier. Can he finish it in style? Look at this.
He certainly can as he takes it over the line. Dún Laoghaire makes some noise for Andy Keys.
That's impressive right there. There's a sliver of a bumper, but he still managed to take it off on the wall. Incredible stuff. Andy, representing Enniskillen Tyre Centre. Let's see what he scored. That's going to be a big run for me. I think that's right up there. 78.7 though. Judges saying a couple of little errors here and there. 5th position so far for Andy Keys. A lot of excitement, but of course we're looking at it from purely excitement basis, and judges obviously on criteria. Also judging position a little slightly different than the cameras that you guys are watching at home or your viewing position here in the arena. So remember, it's their sort of viewpoint that counts.
So next on the line, David Garvey. I spoke to David just before qualifying started. Dave, he is not feeling 100% confident in his car. He doesn't feel like the driver that he felt at round 1. Really feeling the heat. Can he get it together for qualifying? Late initiation there as he comes through that first clipping zone. And David Garvey
kicking the clutch.
Kicking the clutch. You can hear him just hammering that clutch pedal, trying to get this car going. And you know what? Not doing a bad job. He's getting this car around, Dave. Wasn't feeling confident in himself, but you know what? Maybe getting a score on the board will just be enough to settle himself down a little bit.
Yeah, it's a confidence game out there, Eddie. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to believe that you're going to put in a solid run. And if you're feeling if you're feeling the car's not working right, the setup's not right.
But it's a big change from, Mondello Park, where everything's fast, big entries, a flowy track. You come here now, you've got to change to a tight technical track, difference in grip layout or levels.
For sure.
David Garvey putting in a score of 56.7. So look, a steady first run from him, and I think, if his team will be there with him, trying to help him settle down, and hopefully he can come back out and put in a stronger run, but certainly enough to keep him in the game for the moment.
Absolutely. And next up we have got Alan O'Neill, the only 13B rotary on the grid. It is the RX-7 FC representing Skunkworks Clippers Ireland, 450 horsepower. And this car was actually driven by Ryan Turk at the Festival of Drift in 2017. So it's a very fun car to drive. And Alan, looking back on form this year.
Yeah, just missing that third clipping zone, Dave, unfortunately. But again, a long circuit, lots of opportunities for these drivers to get back into. Just see that car just kind of gripping up on him a little bit here and there, causing him to have to correct ever so slightly. But nice line through that midsection and ending it in style here as he rubs the spoiler off the wall as he crosses the line. Not a bad run at all from Alan O'Neill. Where will he place when the judges' scores come in?
You know what? That was a tidy run. It was actually technically pretty good. Missed a little bit here and there, but I think it's a solid score. Good to see a rotary still out there on the grid as well, working hard, and also a very reliable one, which is insane. And the thing just seems to keep going and going. Let's see what the score is. So our judges actually just having a little deliberation on this one. There you go. So it's a 62 for Alan O'Neill, 16th position. 16th position for Alan O'Neill, 62 on the board. And next up we have got a pure smoke machine of Michael Muckian, the farm contractor from South Armagh.
This is a crazy RB25, Dave. 700 brake horsepower, forged RB, precision turbo, 6-boost manifold, wise fab lock kit. It's got it all. Probably a little bit underpowered for this tight technical circuit. Again, just coming off that first clipping zone quite early, but inch perfect on that second clipping zone, Dave.
I mean, that was a big throw. A little bit of like a gear change issue there. I'm not sure what happened.
Yeah, an issue through that midsection caused him to straighten, but he gets it back on angle and out to that wide line, sending out the smoke signal. Just not the perfect run that Michael Muckian was looking for. Missing a couple of clipping zones there.
Yeah, you know what? It started very strong, very aggressive throw into the first corner, but just unraveled a small bit on the transition, and some pretty big and sizable errors there as he came through the whole course. But again, you know, you're going to see these scores dropping in. I mean, he's going to tidy up those. Yeah, 52, pretty big
Do you know what? Those
issue for Michael in the center of the circuit.
33 Skyline's making a comeback.
Yeah, well, they are in the right place for it here on the docks. Hey. No, okay. So we have our next driver on the line, and this is a guy who's watching in practice, Terence Fury. Do not be surprised, and I'm hoping not commentators curse this, but he was looking on fire in practice. He is a car body repair and mechanic from Donegal, 550 horsepower between 5. Right to the wall.
Wow, look at the angle from Terence Fury as he is putting on a show here. The speed that he takes through that midsection is astonishing. And again, look at this wide line, Dave. No fear of getting that car right out to the outer sections of the course. Piles on the angle.
Wow.
And just hits the throttle damn hard as he crosses the line.
And you know what? He came to play this year, that's for sure. Terence Fury doing an incredible job there. Exciting run, fast, speed, aggression, angle, tagging the wall, everything you could want. Let's see what the judges think.
Starting to see a nice mix of scores coming through here as these guys get 84.
An 84 for Terence Fury. Into second position he goes. So our second place driver has 550 horsepower. Our first place driver in qualifying has 170 horsepower. So that's how insane it is right now. Next up, Nigel Moody takes to the line. Site engineer from Kildare and his SR20 powered PS13 fronted 180. Or 1VIA. I think that's what they're called. The JDM guys, I'm sure will correct me. Here we go. Throwing it in. Oh, big tag at wall.
Does he keep this going? He certainly does. Almost looked like Nigel Moody had dialed on too much angle. Oh, and it ends with a spin.
Looked a little bit just on the edge from the off there, Eddie.
Yeah, it was, you know, teetering on the edge of out of control on entry, and unfortunately for Nigel Moody. But you know what? Nigel Moody looking very aggressive there. Maybe not the aggression we're accustomed to seeing from normally just so steady and consistent. A 0 for him in his first run, but I have absolutely no doubts, Dave, that he will be able to come back out on his second half of qualifying and put in a run that will get him into battle action later on this afternoon.
For sure. And next up we have the man that I can't even believe is back on the track. Huge impact with the wall.
Big contact.
And that was the last run of practice, Ed. So like he just literally had 25 minutes there to get this thing back together. No alignment. Let's see how he goes.
Yeah, nice flick entry into the first. Oh yeah, just coming out. You'd have to wonder, is there problems here with the car, because not getting out to the wide lines, slowing up there a little as he tries to get back on angle.
And also remember, he had to change a whole lower wishbone on this car in the space of 20 minutes. So I would imagine this thing is just thrown back together, get out there for the run, and he's after completing a run. Guys, give it up for Shane Reedy. Huge impact in practice and gets out for his first qualifying run and puts a score on the board. That is the fight we like to see.
That car definitely not perfect after that impact, and unfortunately for Shane Reedy, having to drive around it, but certainly doing enough to get himself on the scoreboard. Where will it leave him after his first run, Dave? Will it be enough to get him into, well, look at that, a 60 on the board for Shane Reedy, which may be enough to qualify him into the top 32, and he might have a bit more time just to try and get a second look at that car before battle action if he's to make it that far. Graham Holden on the line, the Waterford man. He's a machine driver representing Suffin Plant Hire. This is a 500 brake horsepower SR20. SR 2.1 rather.
Yeah, fully built. Graham, one of the stars of the Irish Amateur Drift Championship in the pro off-season. Oh, Graham coming in very hot. Cameraman almost dived out of the way there. He thought that car was definitely coming for him. Has Graham Holden putting on a big smoke show here, but a little wayward off some of the clipping zones.
Yeah, I think what happened there, Dave, carried just too much speed around by clip 3 and had to scrub it off. It brought him offline a bit and just had to make a correction to get back online. But look at the way he's finished the circuit, right back out to that. I mean, you can't really get much closer to the walls without binning it.
No, and to be honest, I am still laughing that our cameraman who's on the jib in the corner actually backed away from that run thinking he's definitely going in the wall. Yeah, and he managed to hold it. Incredible.
I think even the great Bill Baldwin would have backed out of that one.
Yeah, 68.3. 8th position for Graham Holden right now. Good first run. Holden is what we could call him because he actually held that very well. I thought that was going to be a big impact. Next up we have got one of another rising stars and a guy who's really just been knocked off by mechanical failures this year in IDC and BDC. Hasn't really had any driver errors. It's Ryan Caldwell, the 16-year-old student from Strabane in County Tyrone. 750 horsepower 2JZ, 612 pounds-foot of torque, G-force dog box. This thing has it all, but look at that entry.
Yeah, I mean, as impressive as this car is, it's an even more impressive driver behind the wheel. A 16-year-old student And when this car is firing, Ryan Caldwell fires right to the top. Look at the line from young Caldwell as he takes it right out to the wall in the Quinn's coach hire S15. And Caldwell lighting up Dunleary.
Yes.
Makes some noise for the young gun.
Great run from Ryan Caldwell there, you've got to say. Again, another youngster like Jordan Boyce coming onto the scene here, like Dylan Garvey. These are the future of the sport, and it's so exciting that future will be watching these guys get better and better and better as they go through the ranks. And Ryan Caldwell goes into 7th position with a 77. Ryan Caldwell missing some clipping zones there and some errors, the judges saying, a couple of wobbles here and there as well. So again, a 323 BMW sitting on top shows it's all about driver skill here.
Now next on the line, Lee McFadden, the stonemason from County Donegal.
Solid as a rock.
Solid as a rock, wow.
Yep, sorry.
I don't even know where to go from here.
We're getting the puns out on Saturday, and then Sunday's all business, right? So Lee McFadden from the Irish Amateur Drift Championship, one of the most insane young talents in the country. 430 horsepower SR20, expected to be very,
Whoa, really aggressive entry as he fires at weight transfer, but missing that all-important first clipping zone. And this will need to be good from here on out. Oh, just getting it wrong. Having to back out as he brought it towards the wall. And maybe not the run that Lee McFadden was hoping for. Again, a lot of pressure for these drivers, Dave, as they sit on the line. It's a long wait. They've done quite well. Lee finishing 4th at the first round of the championship. And all that will play on their mind. They want to keep the momentum going here at round 2.
Remember, there's a championship on the line here, you know, 5-round championship, which ends in Watergrass Hill on September 2nd for these guys in the Pro-Am, and they want to stay in the fight. 25th positions where Lee McFadden drops in with a 56.7, room to improve. Moving on to a man who couldn't improve much more from round 1. It is Neil Dunn, finished 3rd position on the podium at round 1, went into the Pro class, qualified at the Pro class, if I'm not mistaken, and now has a brand new look for this round, which is, of course, in his MDT Team Kanjuma S13, PS13 rather.
Yeah, he says the car is not exactly the way he wants it, but he's got it together here for round 2. A little bit more work to be done to it after the round when he has some more time, but Neil doing some phenomenal work off track as well as on track. His first ever podium at round 1, and he will be hoping to replicate that, although he's got a job to do here tomorrow as a pit reporter, so the judge is going to be scoring him down a little bit here, Dave, just so that he doesn't do too well.
Yeah, he was
We're trying to keep him on a leash.
He's been this thing absolutely ripped.
What about that? And Neil Dunn bursting with confidence at the moment. And you know what? It's amazing what a little bit of confidence can do for a driver as he taps the car, a little bit of a fist pump. He knows himself that that was a good one as he heads back into the pits.
Yeah, a little bit of wobbling on transition, but other than that, it was pretty solid to the outer line of the course, and I think that's what Neil's trying to do, put a good solid score in, take the pressure off for the second. You know, a lot of guys going very close to that wall on their first one. 77.7 for Neil Dunn. Into 7th position he goes. And we move it on to the man that finished 2nd position at the first round of the Irish Drift Championship, brought to you by Link Engine Management. It is Dean Crozier.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite car driver combinations on the grid. I really love the look of this Skyline, and I just love the way Dean Crozier pilots it. He just brings it around the track beautifully. Sitting 2nd in the championship. We saw him in the IADC a couple of years ago, Dave. He is a real talent, but look at this, we have some problems.
Just as you were about to say his chance in the championship, he is going to have to forfeit his first run.
Hopefully we'll get word from our marshals.
So the car reporting a misfire on the start line. So a misfire for Dean Crozier. Back into the pits, he will have to go and try and get that fixed, and leaves us with one driver left in the first half of qualifying, and it is the man that hasn't been beaten in Ireland or the UK this year in Pro-Am competition. It's Lee Scott, the mechanical engineer from County Antrim in the PowerMax Engineering DD Auto Top Dog Hell Performance Fit Boy Tire Service BMW Corby 25 500. Here we go, Lee Scott throwing it in.
I have to laugh as this car goes.
Oh, little error from Lee Scott there as he came out of the
Yeah, uncharacteristic error, but the noise of this car, switching up the engine to an RB25, but he still drives it like the NA powered BMW. Full throttle, clutch kicks everywhere, smoke screen, and Lee Scott crosses the line. Woo!
You know what? It's
showing us why he's.
I hate to say it, but it's a very Dwayne McKeever-esque way to drive a car. He drives the car on the clutch. You can hear it. Once he lets off, he's actually using the clutch like an accelerator. The accelerator is pinned, and then he's just coming on and off the clutch and playing with the clutch for the power he has, so it's always there when he needs it. 86 on the board for Lee Scott's second position. And there you have it, a BMW in our top 3 or 4, I'd imagine, on this circuit at the moment as Lee Scott goes into second position. We're halfway through our qualifying session to go back to our first driver, which was Darren Burke. And Darren Burke about to hit his second run.
Yeah, this is where it becomes, really important. You can just see there in the drop zone, Barry Rogers sits in 32nd place, so he'll be watching very carefully as to what's happening out on track. Darren Burke, after his first run, he is now on the line for the second run, and this is where these guys can, if they're in the competition, they can release a little bit of pressure, but try and bump up the scores and get themselves a better qualifying position, which will hopefully lead them to an easier route.
As you can see there, Darren Burke is in 33rd position. A score on the board here, I think, will get you into the top 32, but you got to put that score in. And Darren hitting the wall on his first run. See how he goes. Oh, a little bit of understeer in the first corner. Wild, a little bit wild from Darren Burke as he tries to get around that first section, but cutting it and putting a wheel over that inner set of chevrons there. So just a little bit offline. Maybe that impact with the wall on the first run causing some issues with this car. Doesn't look like it's handling correctly. You can see he's very cautious in his transitions. And maybe he's struggling here a little bit. And our judges will, of course, show no sympathy to anybody having issues out there. They're all judged the same, whether they're working or not. So let's see if Darren Burke can indeed, I think he will score here, therefore putting himself into the top 32, but let's just see if it's enough. And it looks like our marshals are having a quick look under the car as well, just to see what may be the issue with that 180SX. But there you have it, a 51 puts him into exactly 32nd position.
Yeah, this is what we talk about. It's important to get that first run in so that you don't have those nerves on the line. It's going to be a nervous wait, but you have to feel, judging by what we've seen in the past, Dave, we go on previous experience, it's unlikely that will be, Darren Burke continuing in the competition.
Well, as I said, the driver entry, we've lost a lot of guys in practice here, so let's see if, I think there's only, couple 30-something drivers left in this by the looks of the scoreboard for me. We've skipped a lot of drivers here. Now, they may appear again in the second
drivers
half.
like Shea Rogers not completing their first run. We lost Kirsten Widgerton, and she was saying that she couldn't get the parts together to get back out on track.
Yeah,
Ryan Morton now leaves the line for his second qualifying run. We've already spoken. Morton sits in 30th position. We need to see some of the style that we're more accustomed to from can he pull it together? Again, Dave, very little seat time in this car. He's been plagued with mechanical difficulties, and we just really want to see Ryan Morton get it together here, doing a nice job. Look at this line from Ryan Morton. Fills that outer zone and crosses the line. Guys, put your hands together for Ryan Morton. He's had nothing but bad luck, but looking to shake off the cobwebs and get himself back on that podium here this weekend.
Strong finish to the second half of that run, Ed. Car looking great, by the way.
That is what Ryan Morton is made of, and this is where, the big game players, this is where their mentality counts in those second runs where it's all important. What score is Ryan Morton going to finish on after his second run?
It looked like the car was sort of bogging down after the first corner. It looked like he had to kick the clutch a few times. I'm not sure if that was the case, but
and a 72 on the board, Dave, 11th position. He's definitely going to be safe. And Ryan Morton, you know what? That could just ease some of the pressure that's been on his shoulders lately.
Absolutely. And on to our next driver is going to be Tommy O'Neill. And Tommy putting in a fairly solid first run, if I remember correctly. But, everyone's trying to jump up the order here. The higher you go up in the order, the more you're going to meet a guy that might be struggling a little bit more than you. So that's what it's all about.
Yeah, O'Neill currently down in 19th position. He scored a 64 on his first run, so it wasn't a bad showing from Tommy O'Neill. What can he do now on the second run as he looks to improve it? Oh, dials on big angle, makes the big correction as he has to back out of it. And I think, Dave, that could hurt his score quite significantly, if not causing a zero.
That's what I would call an opposite drift, because he's actually not drifting the correct direction. That's going to hurt his score massively there. It's a big error. It's almost, coming on so much angle to almost stop and spin the car, had to redirect the direction of the car. That's going to hurt him big time there. So I'd say his first score will count there as his higher of the two, unless I'm looking at the wrong run. But in my experience, I think that, 42 there keeps him in 19th position with a 64 from his first run. Which is, a reasonable score. It's such a mid-pack at the moment. Tomas Falvey up next in the Drift Games. S15, representing Mobile 1, Burke Lubricants, the trailer company, Moose Design, Specialized Welding, Dean M Sport, RH Construction, 550 horsepower, sequential, Winters, you name it, it's got it, but it also looks like he's not got any power.
Yeah, it looks like mechanical issues here for Falvey. Just awaiting to see.
Car actually cut out.
Yeah.
Well,
pops and bangs, and
something definitely not right with Tomas Falvey's car there as he limps back into the pit lane.
Some of our neighbours in Dún Laoghaire will be wondering who's just after being shot.
Yeah, we're just getting rid of some birds that were over by the old the boats there. That's what happened. So it looks like he's going to have to settle for his first score as well. And I mean, we were expecting these big second runs, but they ain't coming.
Just waiting to see his scores come up on the screen.
A reminder to
everyone
everybody.
Where Falvey stands.
Yeah, a reminder to everyone watching on this, of course, is the Pro Amateur competition. Tomorrow is the main event, the Pro Final, Round 2. Tomorrow, that's where you're going to see the likes of Conor Shannon and Dwayne McKeever, Mitch Larner, and all those guys battle it out for the Pro Championship today. Let's see who can make it to the podium and also to the top 4 to join them tomorrow. Will it be Tom Murphy onto his second run now?
Yeah, Murphy scoring a 55 on his first run. He's representing Megaspec, Carrot Tools, HES. Big shout out to all those guys who've been a massive help to him. This car, it's crazy every time you look at it. It's kind of like a messes with your mind a little bit with that front end. But yeah, look, Tom's had a lot of mechanical difficulties this morning. This car just not running right for him. It's been an absolute nightmare. Just hasn't been able to get it right. Clutch issues, then gearbox issues. And you can just see as Tom gets out of the car, just have a quick look at it. Give him a round of applause, guys. He's battling mechanical difficulties, doing everything he can just to keep it on track here this weekend. He's going to have to rely on his first run as well here, Dave.
Absolutely.
55 and 30th
yeah,
position.
He's still in the top 32. So
a nervous wait for the stuntman.
Absolutely. You could still see battle action if that car is repairable. So I'm not too sure, but let's see how it goes. Onto the line we go with Jack Shield.
Yeah, Jack Shield scoring a 63 on his first run. Massive horsepower underneath the bonnet of this car, so pretty easy for him.
Well, it is an M3 engine, so he does 300 and a lot of lightweight parts on this. So a little flick entry there. Full throttle. Oh, very.
Look at that. That car, if that wasn't a compact, that was in the wall.
There's a man knowing exactly the dimensions of his own vehicle as he takes it to the outside of the course here.
Yeah, it cost him a little bit because he did have to come off the line, but he's back on it now, Dave, and starting to get into the scoring zone. A little bit more is Jack Shield. Can he improve on that 63? Oh, big bang to the wall as he takes it across the line. Very aggressive. No wonder he has mad racing down the rear quarter of this car, because it's certainly a madman behind the wheel.
Yeah, you know, he hit the wall absolutely perfect there. Just dented in the bumper, but didn't even break the light. So it was very, very precise wall run, but did, as you said, moments of brilliance, some errors, and that's going to count towards the score. And those errors are essentially coming from those wall runs because you're obviously, you know, adjusting the car from them. 76 though, as Jack Shield gets into 10th position with a 76. Impressive stuff.
Yeah, judges liking that one. And again, Dave, after those couple of mistakes, he got back onto that wide line, showed lots of aggression and lots of commitment. Judges wanting to see that. Now we have Nick Queally on the line for his second run. He scored a 68, Dave, on his first run in this very, very unusual and impressive, what did I say, KE rather, yeah. Corolla.
Answers on a postcard.
Too many letters to be keeping up to date with, and guaranteed with some of the Toyota heads out there will be correcting us. And
yeah, but you can also see he's had a couple of run-ins with the wall, and he might have another one here. Oh, and now he's just one quarter done. Now the other quarter is done as well, and Nick Queally hitting the wall both sides between practice and qualifying.
Yeah, I think he's going to be happy enough with his 68 on the first run. Yeah, but he's going to limp back into the pits.
I don't know.
Check over the rear end of that car.
Yeah, he's still in 13th position from his first run, so I'd say he's definitely safe for battle action. But interesting, you know, that again, a lot of guys just struggling a little bit out there at the moment. And I suppose that's maybe, you know, it's not we don't get to practice on these tracks, but one man that is not struggling.
Certainly not. Our leader so far coming out for his second run. Can he better an 86.3 from his first run, representing Bradley Tyres? It is Dara Spencer on the line.
Dara Spencer sits in first position at the moment with an 86.3. Could he go higher in a 323 BMW? Let's see what happens.
His own words, Dave, there's nothing at all fancy about this car, but if you drive it hard enough, it's competitive. And he's certainly driving it hard here. Is Dara Spencer on his second run in qualifying, sits in first place with an 86. Look at the line here as he just keeps that throttle fully to the floor.
It's perfect so far. Yeah, absolutely perfect.
Judges applauding this one once again. Dunleary, show your appreciation. The judges enjoyed it. We enjoyed it. We hope you enjoyed it.
Remember the name, folks. Remember the name, Dara Spencer, because he is showing it right now that he's got what it takes. What a run from Dara Spencer. I mean, he transitioned on full throttle in the middle of the course. I've never even seen anyone try that. And he still kept it going. So let's see if it's better than his first run. He's in first as it is. And 84.3 on his second run means he is still in first position.
But you know what, Dave? Look at the consistency of those 2 runs. That is a man that's going to be tough to beat in battles later on. Very consistent on his line. That's what we like to see early on in the competition. Now, it was about this time in the competition, or in the first run of qualifying runs, that we saw just a flood of BMWs, and we're about to see them once again.
Yeah, and this is Ben Galbraith. He's in 5th position at the moment, scored an 81.7 on his first run. Can he improve from there? Sort of a... There's basically, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, Terence Fury breaking up all the BMWs and a Sierra in there in the top 5 as well with Jordan Boyce, but throw in there very deep. Oh, and Ben Galbraith tags the wall, and you can see it coming. The guy's getting a little braver, especially with the higher scores, thinking, I'll go in that little extra foot more, and it cost him there.
Yeah, Ben, new to the championship, but 4 years drifting experience behind him. This car built from the ground up with just the help of his father and a few friends. He likes being the underdog, and he likes proving that the lower powered cars can still be competitive. So doing that here this weekend based on his first run, maybe not the run he was hoping for in the second run, but again, you know what, these guys coming out pushing it a little bit harder, trying to go top, and trying to put a show on for the crowds. That's what they're here to do. They're here to entertain, and Ben Galbraith's certainly doing a very good job of that as we move on.
Yeah, but obviously,
21.7.
Yeah,
but that 81 on the first run, bringing him
right
into
up the order.
5th position in the
qualifying
in the standings so far.
Yeah, and to be honest, I mean, look, he was trying to go for the 90-something run there by going so wide, and it didn't work out. But Kevin Kilgariff is our next driver. Of course, you remember this is a diesel BMW, because, and as Mike Fitz would commentary in IADC would say, the Pope Mobile, because there's white and black smoke at different times coming out of this thing. But Kevin Kilgariff, the engineering technical development lead from Galway, takes to the track. Coming in hot.
Yeah, trying to improve on a 65 from the first run. A little bit out of shape. Looking to get back out to that wider line, but just struggling ever so slightly to do it. He's getting the car around the circuit, mind you. I think this score is going to be quite similar to what he scored on his first run, Dave. But look at those. Ooh, did he shut it off just before the finish line?
I think he shut that off before the finish line. I think that's it's like a fuel surge issue or so. Oh, a lot of black smoke.
Yeah.
We might have a new Pope. So
Mikey Fitz, huh?
Yeah. You have it a 17th position on after his first run, which was a 65.7. So those safe runs, Eddie, are counting to the guys now.
Hopefully nothing too serious wrong with that car, and Kevin Kilgariff, we should see him safe for battle action later on.
Yeah, Barry Rogers, we saw him towards the drop zone.
Yeah, scored a 50 on his first run, Dave, so he will definitely be looking to improve on that. Not where you want to be, even if you're going to be qualifying, you prefer to be qualifying, you know, mid-pack at least. Down on top, if you qualify, you know, scraping in 31st, 32nd position, you're going to be up against the guys that were really killing it in qualifying, and it's going to make that job a lot more difficult for you. Now, Barry Rogers looking much more confident this time around. Nice wide line, keeps the throttle pinned. Not a whole lot of smoke from this car, but you can just see, keeps that momentum going. Very little lift, but just struggling to keep it on the wide line, I think.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, look, you have no horsepower to give away here because the car will do the track just about, so you've got to pin it the whole way around. One mess up on the line, and there you have it. It's going to cost you over a couple of the sections of the course. So, is it enough? Is it an improvement? We'll have to wait for what the judges say. Look to me like a bit of an improvement there, to jump him up the order a little bit. Hopefully, again. It is, yeah, 26th position now for Barry Rogers with a 57.7.
Yeah, so a small bit of breathing room there for Barry Rogers as he jumps up the order. We move it on to Damien Short. I love how this car looks. Kind of looks like a caddy van almost.
I don't know what you're looking at, Ed, because to me this does not look like a caddy van.
Well, I'm talking about the rear window section.
I get you.
Yeah.
The fiberglass rear window to throw it off a little bit. Look at this as he goes wide. And now throws into that second outer zone. A little bit off those slipping zones. Lots of angle, lots of speed, but just got to get close to those outer zones. Tidying it up now as he takes to the top of the circuit. But again, it's, you know what? It's a solid run. It's a conservative run, but it's very solid.
It is a solid run, but it's not easy taking a break from the sport and then coming back. The sport is progressing so quickly at the moment that even, just missing a few rounds, never mind a whole season, can cause you to really have to, change your driving style and up your game just to stay competitive with these new guys that are coming
sure.
through.
And
But you know what? Damien Short doing a very good job on his first run.
But you
65.
know, what we've noticed in over the years, Eddie, and we've been up here for 60 years now, it's consistency that wins out when it comes to battles later in the day. Consistency generally gets people
And
through.
look at that. Damien Short showing consistency. Improves on his first run. A 69.3. Not breaking into the 70s, but look at that. 13th position, mid-pack. And he's not a driver you'd want to be coming up against in battle action. A lot of experience
for sure.
that Damien Short holds. And a very, very steady competitor. So we move it on. On the line, Paul Kennedy sits on a 64 from his first run. It looked very quick on these Z-Tex tires. Couple of errors on his first run, bringing that score down. If he can eliminate some of those, Dave, we could see him go score very high and really bump himself up the order.
For sure. As I said, from my perspective, he's got to do it all here. He's got to take a big run in, and he went in a little too hot the last time. Probably a little too hot again. Oh, takes the tail of the spoiler off.
Fifth year competing in the IDC for Paul Kennedy. A lot of experience, and he said he's coming to take the title this year. He's sick of being mid-pack. He wants to show off what he can do. Look at that wall run. The full rear bumper just nestled onto the wall as he came by that outer zone. And Paul Kennedy crosses the line. That was a big one, Dave.
He took the end off the spoiler on the second clip. That's baller. Like, just grazed over it, took off the edge of the spoiler. Perfect wall run. A couple of errors here and there, though, missing a couple of clipping zones, which I'm sure the judges will be looking at, but it was definitely a lot of impact. Enjoyable to watch. Jumps up the order, 70.3, 13th position for Paul Kennedy as he right into that top 32 later on. Safe as houses to go into twin battle action later on.
Now we go back to the start line. Dylan Garvey, the younger of the Garvey brothers, he's on the line looking to improve on a 72. Big first run from the IADC driver.
Yeah, as Dylan Garvey takes off the line. Little tentative on the first one coming in. Oh, he's coming in very deep here. Went to the wall very early there, Dylan Garvey. Had to kind of almost dial on the angle to stay out of it.
Yeah, balls to the wall from Garvey. And again, you just see clipping that wall, dragging that rear bumper all the way around the circuit as he just fires it back. Big angle now, just tries to scrub that speed. Drops the wheel a little bit over the line, tags the wall and straightens over the line, Dave.
Yeah, just coming a little bit too early to that wall, the wall zone in front of one of our grandstands, and just almost unsettling the car a little bit of damage done, but it's a score on the board.
I think Garvey looks like one of the quicker competitors around that circuit as well, so could that be something to watch later on when we get to the battle stages of the competition? Could we see other drivers struggling to keep with the pace that Garvey has?
Absolutely, and of course that's when it all changes. I mean, qualifying is just to get you in the show. 32 guys then go for that winning spot on the podium. 44 in the second one. Yeah, big errors from Garvey there. Stays in 11th position though with a 72 from his first run. Yeah,
I think the errors at the end of the run over the line may have been the where those deductions came in.
Yeah, almost stopped over the line, and I mean you're barely scoring there at that point, you know. Robin Neeson is up next in this monstrous JZX 2JZ, 850 horsepower. The man who says he spends most of his time working, so when
look at the wheel spin off the line. Phenomenal! Oh! Just keeps it out of the wall.
I'm not sure what happened there. Just shut off all of a sudden, that car. Nothing major, but it's such a beautiful car.
Very reminiscent of the impact in the wall that James Dean had in Formula Drift only a few weeks ago.
It just seemed like it was steering, or actually it sounded...
Did it grip up?
It sounded like the car cut out to me. We're lucky to be quite close to that. So 0 on a second run. Robin Neeson is still in the game though in the top 32 with a score from his first run, but it seemed to me like the car just shut off or cut off just as he came back on the power, and it just obviously did as best he could to put on the anchors and not go into put on the anchors.
Put it on the,
yeah.
Oh wow.
There you go.
Oh boy.
That's number 2.
But yeah, look, it looks as if, you know, a broken bumper might be the worst of the damage here.
Yeah, there's no more smoke, and then all of a sudden, boom, and it's a light graze.
Yeah, very light graze.
Got away with that one, I think, Robin Neeson.
Should be plain sailing for him from here. Just out of context, really.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Boat, that's what it's all about. Yeah. We're just going to stop now on the puns.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are we doing? Anyway, that's enough dock-related puns.
If you do like our puns, be sure to give us a wave.
Yeah. Okay. Nobody likes the puns. Fair enough. It's a lost start. We'll go back to start
Do you know
line.
what I think it is? I think the speakers mustn't be working in the grandstand because
That's probably what it is. 'Cause
No-
we're-
no
'cause
one can hear us.
I think we're hilarious, Eddie, so if that's any consolation. Trevor McInerney's up next on the line. There's a little cleanup going on the circuit after Robin Neeson. Trevor putting in a pretty solid first run. A conservative one, but one enough to get him into the top 32 at the moment. Looking strong. Can he improve?
Yeah, sits on a 66. He's representing DT Autos, McElliott's Castletown Motors. This is a fully forged 2JZ engine, 600 brake horsepower.
Which is enough to get around this circuit, and at the moment making good use of it.
And you know what? Enough to get around most circuits that we have here in Ireland. And Trevor McInerney.
It's a great job so far.
Yeah. You can just hear just real precision, throttle control the whole way around the circuit. Snap, crackle, and pop as he crosses the line representing Kellogg's cereals.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, that's one of the best runs I've seen Trevor McInerney put in qualifying. I think he's going to get rewarded quite highly by the judges here. That was a very, very good run. And it, again, built on his first run, so I would imagine it improves it. There you have it. It is an 80 for Trevor McInerney, 6th position he goes in qualifying. Impressive stuff from Trevor McInerney, and a statement of intent for the rest of the day. He's feeling it here in Dunleary, not a problem there. But Ross Kenny had a stall up on his first run.
Yes, sits on a 0, Dave. The garage manager from County Clare needs to pull something big out of the back here as he fires it off the line. Again, a lot of wheel smoke as he struggles to get that grip down. And another driver just choosing to initiate just at that first clipping zone. And now you can see gets on the throttle. Oh, backs it into the wall. And could that be a double? It'd definitely be a 0-0, Dave. For Ross Kenny.
Yeah, he's definitely flirting with a 0. He's definitely got a 0 now.
Yeah.
And he's stopped drifting altogether. But is that 2 zeros on the board? So that could see him out of the competition. That definitely is out of the competition for Ross Kenny. Unfortunately, no scores on the board. And so
Yeah,
unfortunate. It looked like that was a good run in the making, just a little bit too much angle as he came to clipping zone 4. So now Keith Barnett-Shea is our next driver on the line. 2.5 JZ, 500 horsepower, running a Link engine management system, 6-boost manifold, precision 5530 with anti-lag, as you'll hear when he comes around the circuit. And it actually has parts on this car from 5 different manufacturers. So there's Nissan parts, Toyota parts, Ford parts, BMW parts, Honda parts. It's a lot of parts. Sort of like a mix mash of everything, but it works really good, and it's a good car. But can Keith get himself into the qualifying mix here?
Yeah, 57 for Bart on his first run. And again, just not getting out to the wider zones where he'd be really picking up the big scores, but a steady run nonetheless. And you never know what you're going to get with Bart. Has the ability to put in some big runs, but 3, possibly 4 wheels off track there could lead to a 0. Rubbing the wall as he comes across the finish line.
Yeah, I think it was probably 2 to 3 wheels off track and a pretty heavy hit with the wall, but it actually, I quite enjoyed it. It was a pretty exciting finish to the run. I quite enjoyed that last finish. Just kept the shoe in.
Dave Egan approves.
Yeah, I approve of it. It was a good run, a good finish to the run, but did go a little bit too wide. Judges will be watching out for that. Just dropping over those painted lines on the course.
Yeah, I think the 57 is going to be the better of the 2 runs. He sits in 27th position, so just inside that top 32. But as you said, Dave, a lot of drivers suffering mechanical problems here this weekend, backing out. Now, a man that scored a 0 and had some contact with the tyres at the wall is Shane Mackin. Extremely aggressive on his first run.
What does he do now? Does he go back to that same line and try and nail it for a big qualifying
Do you know
run?
what? I think that's what he has to do.
Because if he puts a solid run in, he's probably going to get in the mix here. So let's see if he becomes a little bit more cautious this time. Looks like he does. No, keeps it out there. Just backs a little bit off that wall. You wouldn't blame him.
Yeah, just comes a little bit off it, but keeps it pinned. And now it's the second half of the track where he'll be looking just to bring it out ever so much wider. And yeah, look at this, right out to the wall. Shies away from it a little bit though, just backs out. It's kind of like he wants to get there. Whoa, does the car shut down, possibly missing a gear, bogs down a little bit for him just as he crossed the line.
It's not a strong finish to the run.
Not a strong finish at all, and maybe some problems there with the car for Shane Mackin.
It looked like the last section, he just, it was okay up to there. It wasn't perfect. There was a couple of mistakes, but that just offline completely at the end and shutting down almost.
And maybe that incident on the first run playing on his mind a little bit as he took to the circuit for the second half of qualifying. Obviously, the nerves of having it all to do on that second run as well. So Shane Mackin, unfortunately, is 24 on the second run for him. quite a number of errors, especially towards the end of the run, leaves him in 34th position, and that will be the end of his weekend. So,
moving along, we go to Kenny Mulligan.
Yeah, Kenny Mulligan put in a big run on his first attempt.
He did, and
64, very impressive.
Yeah, he was looking very comfortable too, and let's see what he can do in a second. This is the time to go for that top 5. Throwing it into that first corner. Oh, a little bit shy of the wall, but see, if you don't get that first section right, those 3 clipping zones, none of them work. You can't really get to the second 2 if you don't get the initiation right. That's kind of what happened to Kenny there.
Yeah, it's a common theme through most of the tracks that are set up in drifting across the globe. If you're not in those first zones, then you're chasing your run from that point onwards. So very important to have it right from the get-go. Otherwise, you're just going to be in a situation where you're dropping points and you're causing problems for yourself. So
well, essentially, you're drifting on an arc. So if you're in the wrong part of the arc, it's very hard to get back onto that. And that's what happened to Kenny. The first bit just not perfect. So it was a mid-pack run, 52, but a 64 from his first run, sitting in 20th position right now. He's safe for battle action later on, so he'll be getting prepped for that.
Sean Watt sits on the line.
Yeah, Sean Watt. And again, you know, he's 7th position at the moment, 80. Definitely safe for battle action. What does he do here? Does he go for top qualifying spot? I think that's probably what he's thinking.
Do you know, he'll probably just put in a safe run, Dave.
I can see the lies in your eyes.
Yeah.
Let's see if he comes in hot here. Big contact with the wall on his first run. Let's see what he does in his second. Coming in very wide here.
Yeah, look, sheer aggression here from Sean Watt. Brings it right out to the wall once again. Full throttle. Just watch the smoke cloud. No break in the acceleration. Just full of the pipe. And Sean Watt just here to wow us this weekend, gunning for that top spot. Sits on a score of 80, rubs the wall once again. I like the flex in that back bumper, allowing him just to get so deep into that.
It looks like the whole back end is made out of rubber, because it just like literally bounces back into shape.
Hand out the window, guys. Give him a round of applause as he exits the circuit. Sean Watt, he was definitely going to be back for a battle action, and certainly one to watch. You wouldn't want to be one coming up against him. Jumps into 4th position, ups his score to an 82, and again another driver, Dave, showing that all-important consistency. Yeah,
and looking very strong for battle action later on. Doing exactly what he's supposed to do out there. Yeah. Okay, Martin Green. Oh, no, not Martin Green. My mistake. Harry Kerr is our next driver. Did Harry Kerr miss his first run? I think he did.
He did indeed, Dave. Yes, the student from Antrim, 14 years of age, with it all to do on this second run. He started drifting when he was 11, believe it or not.
Yeah, it's a bit old to get into it, but
in a 318 compact, yeah. I mean, look, if you start at 11, and you know,
he's 3 years of drifting under his belt. He's 14 years of age.
Yeah.
It's depressing for everybody over 30 here. Let's just call it what it is.
Yeah.
Harry Kerr, though, a big star of the Irish Amateur Drift Championship. Can he be a big star here? It sounds like the car is not playing ball at all.
No, this car fully built by themselves and AK Drift Repairs, and built in 3 weeks to get this car here with a 328 engine in it.
It doesn't sound right anyway, whatever's wrong.
No, it certainly doesn't.
Broke a half shaft.
Broke a half shaft.
Yeah, broke a half shaft coming off the start line.
How unfortunate is that? Missing the first run and then breaking a half shaft on the line. Very disappointing, especially at that age. You know, hard to take hits like that. But he's going to be back. We're going to see more of this young man, and a bright future ahead of him. One of the rising stars in the competition, in the sport.
Unfortunately, it won't be this weekend that he has to make his name, but it will be another run for Paulius Judicious from Slaney County Meath. This 2.5 litre, 680 horsepower, TH components, Skyline, and he looked very strong in his first run.
Yeah, certainly did. A 67. He'd be looking to break into those 70s and hopefully 80s, but missing that crucial third outer clipping zone for Julius, or Paulius rather.
Paulius, yeah. And let's see if he can finish this run on a high. You know what? Looking very comfortable out there, Eddie. You know, kicking the clutch on that Skyline, getting it out to the walls, tagging the walls, of course.
Nice
actually,
wall run towards the end just to finish it in style.
You know, a man who manufactures fiberglass body kits for drift cars certainly can't be afraid of walls, right? Because
certainly not.
No, he has plenty of bits and pieces for that car, I'm sure, back at home. But a good run again. Is it going to improve on his first run? It does. A 16th position for Paulius Judicious with a 69 on his second run. Little improvement now. Jordan Boyce, the 16-year-old student from Londonderry in his Sierra, currently sits in 5th position with an 82.3. Can Jordan Boyce top qualifying here at round 2 on the final ever drift on the docks? Let's see what happens. Comes off the line through the gears. Samsona sequential gearbox in this car. And he's on the right line here to take it to the wall, and does. Tags the wall, tags this, almost tags the second wall. So he's on the perfect line so far. Transitions late, little touch of the handbrake to set himself up, and he stays on that white outer line where the judges want him to be. And a nice run so far. Can he finish it strong? Can he stay right to those slipping zones? Looks like it's wheels into that. And he does. Great run from Jordan, boys. Very little to complain about there, Eddie.
Do you know what? I have a lot to complain about, Dave. It's just depressing that I can't do that.
Well, to be fair, not a lot of people in the Sierra can do that either. So even if he's 16 or not, it's a difficult car to drive.
Look at this, an 85.3 for Jordan, boys. Third position in qualifying. I mean, look, these young guns, Dave.
What are we going to do with them?
We should ban them.
We should ban people who are very, very good and depress us.
Yeah.
They should be all banned. So, and especially if they're under 18.
Yeah.
Because it's just not fair. Next up, Francis O'Shea, who is over 18, but he is currently sitting in the mid-pack in qualifying.
Yeah, he's down the order, down in 23rd position. He scored a 60.7 on his first run. Looking to build on that. Wow, what about this from Francis O'Shea? Very aggressive line through that first section now. Is where again, with a big straighten through the midsection as he comes off throttle.
And you know what, it's funny, it sort of seems to me that the more grip you have here, given the space that's available at the speed of the course, it's very difficult because you're gripping up, the car is gripping up a lot throughout the course. Look at Francis O'Shea there. If you're in a BMW like 323, you're on road tires, you're full throttle the whole way around. It keeps that consistent speed. Francis with so much grip in the car, which works really well on some of the faster circuits, struggling when you try and transition it just stops.
You've got to remember, a lot of rubber now being laid down on the circuit, which these guys wouldn't have had earlier on this morning in practice.
No, and also it's the cobble lock here, so there will be quite an abrasive surface that's going to start gripping up as it goes along. So that layer of rubber costing him. He still improves on his first run. 23rd position for Francis O'Shea with a 61 on his second run into top 32 action. As we move along to Andy Keys, he was looking very strong in the first run. Currently sitting in 8th position with a 78.7 from his first run. As I say, another guy rising in the ranks here.
Yeah, Andy Keys has looked really on form here so far this morning. And you know what? Really loving the style of this 180 SX as he fires it out to the wall. No fear of throwing this car right to the outer sections of the circuit. And again, look at that. Mere 90 degrees as he goes by that walled zone and then flicks it back, losing lights and bumper panels and everything just falling off this car as he crosses the line.
But that's what I mean. This is
just sheer aggression from Andy Keys.
Drifting is all about, you know, the cars are built to do these little wall taps, those little wall runs, not crashing into the wall. That's obviously not what we're looking for here. 8th position is where he stays for Andy Keys. Consistent though, stays with a 77 on his second run, so very close to his first run. But they're designed to do this. They're designed to take a little hit here and there. Not a big impact, but David Garvey now lines up to the start line. Remember, of course, today is the Pro-Amateur Day. This is the Pro-Amateurs. Tomorrow we go to the main event with the pros, and they will be out for practice just after qualifying for you guys here in Dún Laoghaire. You're in for a treat if you've never seen before. The pro guys will be out to show us a little taste of what's coming tomorrow, but a little taste of what's coming later is what David Garvey's going to try and do here and come in a little bit more aggressive. Very wide line here.
Yeah, David Garvey looking to improve on that 56 from his first run. Just not looking as comfortable as we saw him at round one, Dave.
It's a different type of circuit, but again, he's got scores on the board. He looks like he's in the top 32. I mean, the battles are where you win and lose the event, not the qualifying section. The qualifying just gets you in the show.
Exactly. And you know what? If he can just get himself into the top 32, the confidence might start to grow, but it really is a case of courses for horses. Or horses for courses, rather.
Either or.
Either or.
But at the moment, remember, this is single runs. This is qualifying. This is just you versus the track. When it gets to you versus your opponent later on, anything can happen. We've seen it all switch around. We've seen top qualifiers get knocked out. But there you go, David Garvey, 66 on the board, 19th position at the moment, gets himself into the battles.
Yeah, and you know, there's no replacing the confidence that you can gain from, you know, just one battle win can just change the course of your weekend completely. As we move on to Alan O'Neill, the only 13B powered rotary powered car on the grid.
Yeah, and of course keeping it strong, 1.3. Let's see how he gets on here, coming off very aggressive off the line anyway. Big weight transfer entry.
So Alan O'Neill scored a 62 on his first run. And this looking like Another equally impressive run here from Alan O'Neill as he takes it out to the wider section. You can just see the head movement, looks to the right side as he negotiates that car, brings it all the way out to the wall and tags the wall at the rear end just at the end, finishing the run in style. And things really starting to hot up here in Dún Laoghaire as Alan O'Neill puts in a big run. Will that be enough to improve on his first run, Dave? I think it may just be enough to bump him up the order. Could we see him breaking into the 70s with that run?
Yeah,
and yes, a 74 for Alan O'Neill.
74 into 12th position goes Alan O'Neill, safe for battle action later today.
That makes me look like I really know what I'm talking about.
It does.
Yeah.
Good.
I was like, oh, the judges will probably give him a 70, and they gave him a 74.
Yeah, we're very informed.
So smart.
Unbelievable, Ed. Unbelievable. I mean, we've only watched like 72 events now, so. Michael Muckian up next, 700 horsepower, RB25.
Yeah, needs a big run here, does Michael Muckian. You can see there on the screen, if you're watching at home on the live stream, Michael Muckian sits in 32nd position. Really loving this car, Dave.
Lots of power, lots of smoke, lots of noise, but looks very grippy. Looks like he's got a bit of a handful there. And he's doing a better job than his first run for sure, though. Oh, early transition, though, sends him a little bit offline. And yeah, we're expecting...
and that really fruity race fuel smell as they go by the tower is just amazing. Yeah,
and an amazing machine, but I'm sure the score will reflect an improvement, but not a jump, I would imagine, to worry the likes of Tara Spencer and Lee Scott and those guys at the top. Let's see what the judges drop in. It is a 65.7, 21st position, gets himself out of the drop zone and into the game. Terence Fury up next. He now is a contender for top spot in qualifying.
Absolutely. There's be some guys watching on with a little bit of nerves here as Terence Fury looks to improve on an 84 from his first run, Dave.
He only needs 2.3 more points from this run than his first to go top of qualifying, so that's very possible.
Certainly is. What can he do? Will he come out and just throw it all on the line as he awaits for the marshals to give him the go-ahead to enter the circuit? We are just waiting just for a little bit of smoke to clear here, Dave.
Yeah, of course, smoke, an issue, of course, when you're here beside a built-up area. Of course, we don't want too much smoke heading into the actual town and obstructing the roads, and of course, that is the side effect of what we do. Obviously, these guys making lots of smoke on track, so we're just giving them a little time for that smoke to clear. And here we go, Terence Fury, look at this, coming in really hopping a little bit. Wow!
Yeah, look, this is another very, very strong run here from Terence Fury, representing trailerstuff.ie and Thomas Transport. Look at the line that he takes through the course, hammering the throttle and the limiter as he crosses the line. Big contact with the wall, keeps it pinned.
Lots of smoke, and we can't see anything anymore now.
We can't see anything.
I think he's still there somewhere. There he is.
Not seeing applause from the judges, so maybe this won't be enough to top
you know what?
qualifying.
I was going to say that at the top section of the course towards the building, he did come off 2 clipping zones a little bit. He was probably a good 3 or 4 feet off them. So while there was moments of brilliance and getting close to the wall, there was some other moments of, you know, sketchy transitions and stuff. So his 78.3 for Terence on his second run, 84 from his first run, though, will count as his overall score, 4th position as it stands. So Nigel Moody is
He's on a 0, Dave. Nigel Moody did not complete his first run, and he has it all to do if he wants to get into the battle stages of competition. If he does get himself into the top 32 after this run, Tom Murphy will unfortunately bow out of competition as he currently sits in 32nd position. What has Nigel Moody got this time around? Fires it in. Very aggressive line here from Nigel Moody as he takes it right along the wall now, switches it back through the midsection. Nice on that transition. Just shallows up a little bit though. Now needs to finish with a flurry again. Comes off that 7th clipping zone nice and early, which is exactly what the judges said they wanted in briefing, and safely over the line. Nigel Moody puts in a score. Will it be enough though, Dave, to get him into top 32? I think it will be.
Yeah, there was enough in that run to put score on the board. There was some moments of missing clipping zones and being a little shallow, but I think it's probably enough. There you have it, a 57.3 for Nigel Moody.
Scrapes into 29th position.
Yeah, he's in the show, 29th.
The driver just inside that top 32, despite incident with the wall earlier on. Shane Reedy, the 25-year-old tyre fitter from County Clare, representing Gort Road Tyres. He sits on a 60 from his first run, Dave. This car, not perfect.
No, and it seems like, you know, obviously very little limited tools and stuff and spares here to get this ready, but he is in the game. And a little braver here on the second end.
Yeah, look, these guys may have had a little bit more time between runs now to just have a second look at this car. Maybe make some tweaks to it to try and make it a little bit more competitive out on track. And Shane Reedy doing a really nice job here. If he can keep this going, I think he could be bumping the score up quite significantly, Dave, as this looks to be a very good run as he crossed the line. Guys, give it up for Shane Reedy.
Not a bad run at all. And I mean, you know, when your confidence is shaken like that from a pretty big impact in practice, come back out, get your 2 runs on the board and get 2 scores on the board. Shows he's a steely competitor and one that's not willing to back down from a fight. And let's see which way the scores go on his second qualifying run.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not a matter of just going to the line, driving the car, and, you know, putting in a big run. That's not how it works for these guys. It's not as simple as that. So much more going on off track. A 64.7 for Shane Reedy, improving on his first run. Jumps him up into 23rd position as well, Dave. So safe, and Shane Reedy will breathe a sigh of relief after those nerves after going into the wall earlier on this morning. We move on, though. Graham Holden sits on the line for his second run. We're coming towards the final few drivers here in qualifying. 68.3 though for Graham Holden on his first run. What can he do to try and top that as he leaves the line here?
Very aggressive for sure. As he transitions through the, oh, it's very big speed from Graham Holden, and he holds it. Looked like he may have been going for contact with the wall.
Had to back out from that one just a little bit, but you know what? Keeps it going. It's a sign of a good driver when they can make a slight little error of judgment like that, but just make their correct adjustments and just get the car back on angle, get it back on power, back on line, and finish the run. And will we see an improvement in the score from Graham Holden? We need to see the judges' scores. A 68, as we mentioned, on his first run, looking to improve on that, and a 70.7. So again, showing good consistency. He's going to finish up mid-pack and safe then for a battle action. Now, a man that we are very eager to see. Can he top qualifying? A 77 on his first run. Ryan Caldwell has not been going all his own way this season, but the 16-year-old student from Strabane in County Tyrone will be looking to take it to the top spot here. Weight transfer entry and nailing that outer zone, filling that first clipping zone. And Ryan Caldwell representing Quins Motorsport.
Absolutely perfect so far around the outer zones. Even going on huge speed, tagging the bumper off the wall. Can he finish strong here? Indeed he can. Caldwell looks very, very strong today.
He certainly does. The talent that this young man possesses is just so impressive. And do you know what? I think himself and Lee Scott could be battling out for top spot here later on this afternoon.
And you can see once a small impact with the rear end of these cars, they just completely just fall apart.
Disintegrate, yeah.
And you can see all the working mechanicals behind it. But let's see what he scores. Is it enough to go top spot in qualifying? We're about to find out. He does. Number 1 in qualifying is Ryan Caldwell, 87.7. Almost into the 90 bracket. He goes top. Ryan Caldwell, judges loving the fluidity and speed of that run also. And here we have it, Lee McFadden. He's looking to turn his fortunes around, as you mentioned.
Currently sits on that drop zone as well, Dave, so really needs to try and improve his score, because you know what? Dean Crozier, the misfire, sits on a 0. So do you know what? He could find himself, even with only 4 drivers to go, he could find himself outside the top 32 if Dean Crozier were to put in a score that was better than his first run. So, what can McFadden do? Needs to better at 56.
So far, really good.
Yeah, really impressive. Showing a lot of composure and a lot of nerve, negotiating this tight and technical Dunleary circuit. Look at the line that he takes through the midsection. Pinpoint accuracy from Lee McFadden, feathering the throttle as he crossed the line. And you know what? Nothing explosive about that, but just technically perfect. And that is exactly what the judges
It was an interesting approach. He actually used a lot of on-off throttle there to make sure he was perfect. Judges obviously rewarding more constant throttle, but I think on a technical basis that was as good as he could do.
He got the car exactly where it needed to be. Look at that, an 81, and just enough for 8th position.
8th position with an 81 for Lee McFadden. He's way up in the mix now, from 32nd all the way up to 8th. Next up we have Neil Dunn, the heating contractor from Laois, representing MDT Tuning, Team Kanjuma, Zestino Tires, Carrick Tools, Group D, Turbo Direct TH Components. He was actually our commentator for the Irish Amateur Drift Championship in the off-season, so he can talk the talk, but now you got to walk the walk, Neil. See how it goes.
So, whoa, look at that. Big, big aggression from Neil Dunn as he throws it out to the wall, showing very little regard for the rear end of that PS13 as he just bangs the throttle, slows it up as he comes towards that wall, and then quickly back onto the power. And Neil Dunn lighting up the Zestinos and across the line. Can he improve on that 77? Neil Dunn actually said, because I allowed him to commentate at IADC, he's going to let me borrow his car for IADC next year.
I think this was a dream world you were in for a moment
no,
already.
No,
okay.
no, I was filling them with pints last night. And,
then I believe it. 11th position for Neil Dunn is where he stays with a 77.7.
Yeah, and showing good consistency is Neil Dunn.
So we're moving along to second in the championship on a 0 from his first run. Dean Crozier not completing his first run. Championship on the line for him here. He has to get a run in.
Yeah, misfire on the line from Dean Crozier. Didn't get to complete a full run. Didn't even get to get as far as the first clipping zone. So will we see a change in the fortunes here for Crozier? Hopefully he'll have sorted those gremlins as he awaits the marshal's instruction to lead the line. Crozier is go. Championship points at stake. Can he get through the circuit? It's safely off the line. It doesn't sound overly healthy though.
Something very wrong with that car. Something very wrong, but he's trying to put in a run anyway. He's trying to get around with it. That car is absolutely misfiring to hell, and he's still trying to make a run happen here, Eddie. This is championship points at stake. He's sacrificing it to get that extra time to get it fixed, and he might just put a run in here.
I think he's going to pull it off, Dave. He gets across the line, and you know what? That is huge for Dean Crozier's championship. They're going to have a bit more time. Himself and the guys, his team, they'll be working on that now. They'll have a bit of time between now and top 32 action. Do you know what?
It sounded horrific.
It sounded horrific, but you never know what could happen in a battle.
No.
And
he might even get in the game here because that wasn't a technically bad run. There you have it, a 67.7 with a misfire for Dean Crozier, puts him in a 21st position. Leaving us with one final driver in our Pro-Am qualifying. It is Lee Scott. He is, look at him, pumping himself up in the car.
Doing a little bit of a jig.
Yeah, third position at the moment. He's only 1.7 behind first place. He hasn't been out-qualified or beaten on track in Pro-Am this year. Let's see how he gets on here.
Yeah, scored an 86 on his first run, and by his standards, it wasn't technically perfect. A few little errors into the run. If he could get rid of those, could we see him break into the 90s? This is looking good from Lee Scott so far. 19 years of age, the mechanical engineer. And Lee Scott, pedal to the metal as he crosses the line. Another really, really strong run, but could this be the first time this season that he has been pipped to the top spot? Could Caldwell's run of 87.1 be just out of reach here from Lee Scott? He scored an 86 on the first run, Dave. Was that enough in your opinion to top it?
I don't know. I mean, Caldwell's was probably a little bit smoother and faster. Lee using a lot of the clutch on that one, but technically it was perfect. It's going to be close. And there you go. It was close, but going into first position is Lee Scott with an 88. And that means that he has not been out-qualified or beaten in a battle in Pro-Am competition in Ireland or the UK so far. Will it be the same way this evening? Guys, that is the end of our Pro-Am qualifying. We are going to pro practice here in Dún Laoghaire Drift on the Docks 2, meaning we are back later for action from the top 32. That is coming up at 3:30, but right now you can see the scoreboard on your screens at home. And of course, the drivers will be informed here of who has made it into that top 32. From me and Eddie, we'll be back at 3:30 talking you through those all-important twin head-to-head battles. For you guys in attendance right now, if you want to go to the IDC merchandising shop, get yourself some IDC gear, head back into the stands and watch some pro practice, which is about to go down. If you guys at home are not watching pro practice, because you should be here in the sunshine in Dún Laoghaire, checking out the amazing talent. The championship is heating up. There you have it, guys. Scores are in, and we are leaving you there as we await top 32 Pro-Am action here from Drift on the Docks 2, which is now coming up at 3:30. Of course, if you're online, you want to grab yourself some cool IDC merchandise, get onto driftgames.life. You can see the whole range of Drift Games and IDC merchandise there. Pick yourself up a hoodie or a t-shirt or a hat. Support the cause. And until then, me and Eddie, we'll be back at 3:30. Until then, guys, don't go anywhere. We're about to kick off more action at 3:30 from Drift on the Docks 2.
we are Funk Motorsport, your heat management specialists. Based in the UK, we strive for perfection, developing thermal products trusted by professional race teams and drivers worldwide.